The blood health blueprint, what your blood does for you, carrying nutrients, dispersing oxygen, cleaning out your system, dealing with toxins, dealing with microbes, dealing with invaders, white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets. What do we do with this mixture of essential needed blood flow? How do we analyze this thing, help you a little bit with some of your blood work, some of the things you have going on? How can you get proactive to have healthier blood? It compromises everything. It compromises your energy, compromises your liver health and your toxicity, compromises your immune strength, and just being able to defend in a world that is hitting you with 1,000 virus and virus particles every day. That's what you come in contact with, right? I'm just like, right? It's everywhere. So how do we strengthen those things? The main thing that blood health impacts is energy. So if you deal with or need more of it, maybe it's your blood. That's the issue. Let's dive in and go. The anemia side of things. Now, that word may mean something to you. It may not mean something to you. Here's normally what it more looks like. Tiredness, fatigue, shortness of breath, thinning or fragile hair, irritability. You feel cold, especially when others are feeling fine, especially in the extremities that are further away, hands and feet. You're weak, you're dizzy, pale skin, headaches. Now, these can be symptoms for a multitude of different things, and this is not replacing any sort of medical advice whatsoever, but if you're dealing with those, maybe it's a nutrient I'm missing, maybe it's foods that I'm eating, maybe what can I do to impact those things outside of just seeing a doctor, getting a drug, right? How can you be proactive on the offense? Well, in the anemia type scenario, if it is the red blood cell production, then obviously you're getting way less of them, or they're smaller and they're not holding what they should be holding. So normally we're seeing a lot of healthy red blood cells, healthy white blood cells. We're going to talk about those later. And then we want some platelets in there, but we don't want too many of them, because if there's too many of those, this starts to get real thick and inflamed. So maybe you have real more thick, slowed down blood, heavier blood. That's going to increase stroke risk. So we're going to talk about that scenario in a second, but normally we got a good disbursement of those. If you get thin on that red blood cell side, this is anemia. You don't have as much oxygen going to the tissues. You don't have as much nutrient going to the tissues. So we want to look at and break this down. All right, how do we start to increase? How can you get back to normal red blood cell production? Could that be the reason that you have energy issues, fatigue issues, those types of problems? So we're gonna go through the focuses of this. So if you are struggling, tiredness-wise, shortness of breath, irritability, feeling cold, weakness, dizzy, here's what could be going on. So here's the foods to focus on right out of the gates. We're hitting this hard. If you're dealing with a lot of energy issues, if you're dealing with anemia type issues, you wanna make sure that we're avoiding number one, dairy. Calcium blocks iron absorption. Calcium blocks iron absorption. So we don't want to overdo too much calcium. So if you are in the anemia and lacking a lot of energy, maybe, especially if you're taking a calcium supplement, could have something to do, it could be throwing off that red blood cell production because there's not enough iron. So calcium blocks iron absorption. Vitamin C helps iron absorption. So that's why I put a lot of these foods like citrus, acerola, strawberries, some of my favorite forms of food-based vitamin C. Increasing some of the iron. I don't like just throw a bunch of iron into the mix, but a cast iron pan does some of that. Organ meats, other types of meats, chickens, eggs, black beans, helping with magnesium, nuts, seeds, fermented foods. The reason I put down fermented foods and why I would suggest removing gluten is because candida and the wrong bacteria overgrowing in the gut prevent iron absorption. Now, if you have good bacteria, probiotics, those increase B12 and iron absorption. So you can really get the food working for you here, all right? So let's review this. Vitamin C, supplement form, food form, absorbing iron. Probiotics, food form, fermented foods or supplement form, increases B12 and iron absorption. So a lot of people that are like, I'm really B12 deficient, I need more of that, I'm not breaking it down well, or sometimes even B12 is high in the blood, which means it's not getting absorbed into your digestive tract and into your system properly, right? It's not actually getting in there. So increasing those probiotics, increasing vitamin C, decreasing calcium, especially in the supplement form. You could decrease dairy, which is going to help with the candida as well. And you might consider doing like a candida cleanse. Another interesting one, if the energy's down, if you have anemia, if there is red blood cell production issues, B12 issues, iron issues, beetroot. Beetroot is one of the greatest sources of iron, magnesium, vitamin A, folate. A study found that when you give teenage girls beetroot juice mid-morning for 20 days, there was a significant improvement in hemoglobin levels. So beetroot juice might be the option if hemoglobin is down for you, then that's what you would add in. So just some really fascinating foods right out of the gates. Citrus, acerola, strawberries, fermented foods, beetroots. Fascinating. On just things that you can do to alter red blood cell production, stopping or getting proper iron absorption, and stimulating hemoglobin production, just with the right foods. Now, to not alter absorption of some of those minerals, take your coffee or your tea outside of meals. So when you're eating these foods, use coffee or tea outside of it, because it can mess a little bit specifically with like the iron side of things. Okay, so decreasing dairy, gluten, adding these foods. Now, put all those and broke those down for you right in your guide. So there's your symptoms that you could be experiencing, or if you're experiencing any of those. One of my favorites to add if you are struggling with anemic like symptoms is to add green superfoods. And then we got a couple more focuses to go through, but decreasing your dairy intake, gluten, let's keep going. So we got the foods on there for you. What are some of the focuses that you can do? Well, I would absolutely add methylated B vitamins, methylated folate, methylated B12. So the B vitamins are going to help, and they're going to play a role in the iron absorption. This is also going to impact significantly your energy levels. Now, when it comes to minerals and the vitamins, we want the methylated form of the B vitamins. We want the chelated form of the minerals. All right. So the more synthetic and man-made stuff, the further it gets away from food. Okay. And so synthetic forms of B vitamins, regular folic acid, regular minerals like just iron, right? That you see fortified in cereal, for example. Very toxic because it's so far over here. It's like chemical composite, iron filings, you know? But as we start to move this way, if we can get it closer to the food form, so I'll give you the list of foods, but then some of you are going to need to supplement because your numbers are so far off to getting extra iron, extra minerals, extra B vitamins in there. So to move this way, we want chelated minerals. Now, I made the move over this past year, depending on when you're watching this. For every supplement that we have, I moved to chelated versions. And what that did is it went from synthetic minerals to minerals, which is what we were using before, to, which were natural, okay, they're natural forms, to chelated minerals, which now have amino acids attached to them. And then now it's like it's clumped in with the food. And your body can attach and use that amino acid. It looks more like food, it acts more like food to get absorbed into your body at an even higher level. This concept is very important when it comes to chelated minerals, because iron's stored by a protein called ferritin. Ferritin is made by the liver, and so if ferritin is low, then there is not sufficient storage capacity in the body. So you measure ferritin's one of the numbers on your blood test that you can check to see if ferritin's way down, probably going to have some hemoglobin issues as well, could be deficient in your B vitamins of folate and cobalamin, B12, and your iron levels, depending on how they're kind of looking at them. But they probably measure multiple numbers. Ferritin is made by the liver and it stores iron. So checking ferritin is probably one of the best ways to check for iron deficiency because it's measuring your storage amount. So a little known fact is that cytochrome P450, there's enzymes that are made in the liver for it, and they require a heme, an iron structure, in order to build the hemoglobin, be able to use it and optimize oxygen and energy for your body in order for it to function. So enzymes that the liver is making are critical in the metabolism and the clearance of medications and detoxification, a lot of different things inside of our liver, and then impacts the toxicity of our blood and the amount of our blood. So if you have low iron, it can mean that your detoxification pathways are not functioning at their highest levels, and that those enzymes may not have the iron that they require to build in sufficient quantities to detox you from a medication, detox you from toxins that are going on. So that's why a lot of times, and some of you have had an MTHFR gene mutation test, and you don't have these enzymes. And so what happens, and this is a test you can have, I just got that test, what does it mean? It will mean that you're lacking some of these enzymes, and so you're going to struggle more with red blood cell proper formation. You're going to struggle with the use of iron, the storage of iron. You're going to struggle with the detoxification oftentimes of how the body's getting rid of chemicals. And so then your liver lacks some of the things that it needs. So if that is the case, and there is an MTHFR gene mutation, the main thing we focus on is this list here: adding methylated B vitamins, chelated minerals, iron, zinc, copper, molybdenum. These micro minerals, oligos, they're also called. These you don't need very much of, but you need some. You don't want to overdo iron because it rusts inside your body. You don't want to overdo some of these, but you need a little bit of each of these. That's why I added just a touch of copper to my vitamin D, because it's so crucial in immune function. These minerals power a lot of little different functions in the body, but iron is the one that gets the most attention. We want the chelated form. Chelated form of iron is also going to not give you like an upset stomach from taking iron, because it's going to be closer to the food form of it. Chelated iron, chelated copper, chelated zinc. chelated molybdenum. Now, zinc is right up there with iron as far as the attention that it gets. Rightfully so. Very important for energy levels, for if you're having skin, hair, or nail issues, absolutely. And then also, of course, immune function. So that's a big one involved with both red blood cells and white blood cells. Now, the vitamin C that we just talked about, I would consider supplementing with this because it's going to help with that iron absorption. So how do we easily get, and in the right doses to not overdo, but get your methylated B vitamins, get your chelated minerals, irons, zincs, coppers, molybdenums, some vitamin C to get them in? Well, I started digging into the research of it and like, what are all the key nutrients with it? And I started with beta carotene because it's associated with lower overall cardiovascular diseases, heart risk, strokes, cancers. So it has a big impact on blood health. Of course, B12, we talked about this one already, and its role in anemia and energy, and folate, anemia and energy. Now, the other Bs that can impact this are B1, 2, biotin, and 6. So muscle strength, B1. B2 is involved with iron absorption and red blood cell production. Biotin is going to give the essential coenzymes for amino acids, fatty acids, which help with energy production. And then finally, B6, associated with anemia, dermatitis, chelosis, swollen tongue, how your wounds are healing. So that's the B lineup there, along with vitamin A. Then we have vitamin C, which helps with the iron absorption. And then it's the chelated forms of these. Now, chelated iron improves absorption. There's the study on that. The hemoglobin impact is way better tolerated. Zinc, folate, iron all increase ferritin levels and hemoglobin levels when they're taken daily, especially together. Zinc aids in iron absorption. Copper deficiency is linked to anemia. Molybdenum helps iron deficiency anemia. There's a positive association of vitamin E supplementation with hemoglobin levels. So adding the methylated B vitamins, chelating the minerals, and the vitamin C. Also, more importantly, making sure your blood support supplement is not damaging you because of the type of iron, the type of B vitamins, or the type of minerals that are happening in it. Now, on top of the B vitamins, the chelated minerals, the vitamin C, I would highly recommend also detoxifying the liver, because we talked about just a second ago that not having those proper enzymes, lacking the B vitamins, having issues storing iron, there's a breakdown then, and especially if you are MTHFR positive, gene mutation, you don't have those enzymes, I would consider detoxing them because your body's already struggling with detoxing. B vitamins are very crucial in that detoxification process, and then do a liver detoxification. So those would be the simple, straightforward, very impactful, focus on these foods. Now, if you're not good at eating spinach and kale and broccoli and citrus and acerola and strawberries, just take the powdered greens, okay? Powdered greens makes it easy to get them in. And then consider doing the detoxification. I put a link to our entire liver solution right there. This is the path out of, I believe, from a fatigue issue, from an energy issue, from anemia issues, from a lack of ferritin, low hemoglobin. How do we get yourself out of it? We use blood supporters, blood building nutrients, vitamins, minerals. We eat blood supporting foods. We help that liver out. And if we can't get enough blood supporting foods, we use some greens, okay? It's those chelated forms and it's those methylated forms that are super important to be putting in, okay? The focuses. Now, testing wise, I also put this on there for you. Your doctor's going to run this. You're going to see a complete blood panel that's going to be very standard for looking at your platelets and your blood cells and your hemoglobin, right? With the iron panel though, just make sure they add in ferritin. They should do total iron binding. They're probably looking at your iron, but we really want to make sure they look at ferritin. This is measuring how much iron's being stored. If this is low, we don't want to get it too high. We want ferritin up above 100 starts to cause problems. But if you're below that, it's kind of like vitamin D, right? You just want to get it in that sweet spot. So you've got enough of it. And realize, women, you have a ferritin detox happening every month. You lose iron every month for a long time, for decades, but then that stops. Men, you never get that blood loss, okay? And that means you're usually in scenario number 2, which I'm gonna talk about in a little bit, where ferritin's high. But for a lot of women premenopausal, your ferritin is low. Now, postmenopausal women, you start sliding back over into the high ferritin level. See this balance? I did a video on why giving blood is actually very, very beneficial for you, let alone whoever you give it to. It's for this reason, because a lot of us never reflush our red blood cells. So I've given blood twice over the last 6 months, and it's a rhythm that I'm starting to get into. I'll probably settle into once or twice a year to allow my body to produce fresh red blood cells. I'm probably not giving that advice for someone that's low in ferritin and lacking red blood cells, right? However, how do you know? You start measuring ferritin levels. Have them check this one. If it's really high, it's a big stroke predictor, so you want to keep an eye on it. If it's low, you're not having any energy. Work with your doctor. I'm not your doctor. I'm not pretending to be. I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm just saying, hey, you're a little more informed of what ferritin actually is. Take a look at it, and all you want to know, in the normal range, out of the normal range, up above 100. If it's below 100, is it too low? You start getting in the single digits or the tens, like you're probably not getting enough pop, enough energy, enough hemoglobin, red blood cell production that you would like to have because you're lacking that iron. That's a lifestyle. You are the solution to it. You got to be the change. No one can take better care of you than you. You are the solution.